Today on Top Gear Rearview, Jeff's talking crazy money,
Oh, that's crazy money.
and I get turned into a newt.
I'm not dead yet. Hello and welcome to Top Gear Rearview. I'm Jeff, that's Brady. Tonight we're looking back at Series 3, Episode 2 of the new Top Gear.
This episode aired on the 2nd of November in 2003, and the star in a reasonably priced car was Stephen Fry.
And tonight's segments, we are looking at the all-new BMW E46 M3 CSL, the super lightweight one. We see how many caravans a Volvo 240 Estate, which I owned, can jump. Take a look back at some classic BMW M cars with the M1, M3, and M5, and round things out with a nice little trio review of some convertible sports cars. All right, before we get into this awesome M3, we had a nice little tribute, it was called at the time, and there was a nice little video segment, which really, to me, pointed out that he kind of spun a lot.
Yeah, I guess it was, I don't know if they were trying to show how good he was, because they didn't at all.
No.
He just spun all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, and we commented. I didn't think he was a terribly consistent driver.
Yeah.
I felt like he was taking incorrect. No, incorrect is not the right word. Different lines.
Yeah, he wasn't consistent. I mean, that's really it. He would just kind of throw things around a little bit, and maybe it was for a reason, but as we noted last time, this was Perry McCarthy. Didn't quite have a strong racing career, so compared to Ben Collins, at least Ben Collins has quite the resume when it comes to racing. So I can see an upgrade here.
Yeah, exactly. So the tribute, I don't know if they were going for a look at how good he was, but it just pointed out to both of us that maybe it's good that we got on to Ben Collins in the new Stig.
Yeah, I think a fitting new Stig for a new season.
Exactly. Well, the new Stig gets to bite his teeth into this first car, Jeff, the BMW CSL M3.
Yes.
Or BMW M3 CSL. Which one comes first?
I think it's the M3.
M3 CSL?
There you go.
Okay. All right. I have it written down the other way, obviously. But yeah, this is a lightened up. This is a Porsche special that BMW does to the M3s, where they charge you a whole lot more for the same car with a lot less options.
Interestingly, they do the same thing as the Porsche did. So the options they pull in this one, they pull the stereo, the AC, and electric seats and a few other things. But if you want the AC and the stereo back, they give them to you for free, which is at least they're not too chintzy about it.
Yeah, I mean they're already charging you
a lot. 20,000 pounds more than an M3.
Yeah, 20,000 pounds more to take all this stuff away just to give it back to you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's the same 3-liter straight six, yeah, 355 horsepower.
It has a little bit of tweaks. It's got a different camshaft profile. It's got a different exhaust manifold, slightly different exhaust, and a different intake that bumps at 17 horsepower.
Okay. I guess that's good.
Yeah, I get a little bit of horsepower. It loses 240 pounds.
That's pretty good.
And it's interesting because they compare it to the 3.0 CSL, the old Batmobile, and that one had some significant weight savings over its kind of contemporary road car. This one is not quite as dramatic, but what they did is they did it more strategically to keep the 50-50 weight distribution and to lower the center of gravity. One of the things they note is it's got a carbon fiber roof, which is kind of the staple. That's one of the ways you can really tell. But which only saves about, I think it's like 15 pounds. It's not that much, but it lowers the center of gravity a lot, and it adds stiffness to the chassis.
Yeah, I mean the carbon fiber roof is something that they started to implement on just regular M3s in the future.
Yep.
So it turned into I guess as the carbon fiber production and manufacturing got cheaper, easier, and more available to everybody, it wasn't just something relegated to the 20,000 pound extra cars. It was just to the regular car.
Just something it was an option, I think.
Yeah,
they did not make a bunch of these. They only made 1,400, and they were only for the 2004 model year. And interestingly, none of them made it to the U.S.
So not a single CSL in the U.S. unless you imported it later.
Not a one, and even then, I mean, you probably could. I assume it kind of fall into that, but I don't know. It gets weird when you have like the same model in the UK and over here, and you try to import it. I don't know if the EP or not, I think it's the EPA, DOT. I don't know. Somebody's gonna get cranky.
Some government agency.
Somebody.
I don't know. This is the same car. I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
The numbers are the same. I don't know. Yeah, it was interesting that they did compare it back to that. You said the old Batmobile CSL is the 1973 3.0 liter CSL. That thing has the most bitchin' spoiler on it.
Yeah.
Of any car. I love it. It earned its nickname that way.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting watching them drive that around. That car looks like way more fun than the M3 CSL,
Oh, yeah.
the new one.
Yeah.
It looked like they're a lot more on the ragged edge, a lot more unforgiving than a newer car would be with the newer suspensions
Definitely.
and tires and whatnot.
Yeah. I particularly like the front and rear bucket seats on that one.
Yeah.
No rear bench. So you got your own seat in the back. That one, the 3.0 CSL, also never sold in the U.S.
That's just all disappointing. One thing I did enjoy also is that this has got the classic BMW racing paint scheme and livery.
Mm-hmm.
It had the orange, purple, and blue, which some of you might recognize from our Season 2 videos and podcasts. We're trying to change it up for every series of Top Gear, and we've got a new one up for this one, so check that out on your podcast app or on the YouTube videos.
We think it works on podcast apps. We think, but
you might see a drastic change to the overall logo of our podcast.
Everything might change soon.
There was one. There was one good segment. They took this car to the Isle of Man, which was a running theme for this episode. Mm-hmm. Which Isle of Man, best logo, flag, seal, coat of all time. Awesome. 3 just dismembered legs attached at the hip. It's hilarious. Love it.
I like it.
But, it's free from some regulations, and apparently there's not very many speed limits on the Isle of Man, which is why they have the TT there.
Yep.
But there is, they're talking about how because there's no speed limits and lack of regulations and police officers and whatever, this is...
And there's nothing to stop me going round this corner like this.
And then he tries to, give it a good corner. Did you see this section, Jeff?
I did.
Yeah, it's just got this little small... I wrote small skid.
Yeah, he goes it's not like a drift. I like that there were people watching too. It was like a rally stage. They were like, he's gonna give it the beans. Nope. Just
what was that?
A little screechy.
Did you lock up did you just hit the brakes here? It was just the smallest little skid. I thought it was hilarious.
Now one thing, this car only came with the SMG, which is kind of a bummer. I hate it when they do this.
Yeah. I mean, it's really surprising. Is it another weight cutting thing? Is it lighter to not have a stick?
Well, the thing is, so the thing is, I mean, it's the standard one was available with the 6-speed Getrag, and this is the same transmission with an electro-hydraulic clutch and paddles. So it's like there's more stuff there. I mean, in theory, it's heavier. This one can shift fast. This has had a different mapping or different electronics and programs. It could shift in 0.08 seconds, which is pretty damn quick.
All right, so 0.08 seconds is pretty fast.
It's moving.
Non-double clutch.
Yeah, double clutch is no. This was just literally a manual with shenanigans in the background.
Yeah.
The SMG always got the knock for being particularly unreliable. I don't think it was ever a terrible transmission. I think, considering this is the fast one, and actually in the next generation they made them even quicker. There was one that could do it in 0.065 seconds, which was a record for a while until I think it was one of the dual clutches or something out of the Huracan, I want to say. Took that down with a 0.055 second one. So it's fast, but I think it's just that the additional complexity made it just not a great reliability mark.
Just a lot of moving parts.
Exactly.
And a lot of them being electronic and actuated and stuff like that. And that's just a formula for binding and marring and all sorts of problems.
Yep, and hydraulic leaks and explosions and all that fun stuff.
So let me ask you this, Jeff. I think it's either later in this episode or next episode, kind of runs together sometimes for us here on Top Gear Rearview. But Clarkson is talking about all of the, it might actually be right now in this car review, all of the different selections you can make for sport mode, track mode, or, comfort mode and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts, Jeff, on having a comfort or soft selection for the transmission or the engine or the suspension in a car that's obviously a hardcore sports car version of a hardcore sports car.
Yeah.
You know, what is the point of a comfort setting on your suspension in a car like this?
In the CSL, I think the point is BMW is saving money because they use the same stuff they use in the regular car.
It's just the same thing.
Yeah, you don't need.
But you would-
nobody. Yeah.
I guess you would think that you would just be able to take that sort of setting out and make it just, set at one point, and you have to get rid of any of the changes or the actuation. I guess they're not opposed to adding complexity, as you saw with the transmission. But it seems out of place on a car like this. Like with the torn down, ripped out Porsches, there's just not very many options, and it includes suspension settings.
Yeah.
It just seems odd that that's an option for a car like this.
Agreed. It's they left. Yeah, there are a lot of like things you can do that just don't seem necessary. But I don't know. Weird car. Expensive weird car.
Expensive weird car. So we foreshadowed a little bit, I guess, kind of at the beginning of the episode, about this being New Stig's first car. They didn't do any break-in period where they gave him 4 or 5 cars to try it out. They just said, all right, here's a CSL. Get yourself up on that list. And he did. So let's head on over to the Top Gear Rearview power ranking section. Jeff, this car did a 128 in the kind of damp I have written down.
Yeah, I think that would count. I would call it mildly moist, I guess. Bear in mind, Stig did that on CSL's ludicrous tires near slicks in the damp, so we'd call that a wet lap. That was the quote.
Oh, I guess they did call that a wet lap.
Yeah, I think they gave it.
I don't think you should. I mean, it's the car's tires. The car's tires come with the car. All right. Well, I guess we'll give him that. So a 128 in the regular wet,
which is so fast.
It's a very fast time. This is a 58,000-pound car, as we said. So what do you give it for a desirability rating, Jeff? And then we'll compare it back to the regular M3 from Season 2, Episode 2.
I'd probably give this one a 6.
6? See, I think this car, it doesn't... It's kind of contradicting myself, when you compare it to like a GT3 Porsche, where I loved that car. But I think they just did it right. I don't find that this is as... It doesn't go far enough. It's not as awesome as those other ones. I'm going to give this one a harsh mark, and I'm going to say a 4. Ooh. I would just much rather just get a regular M3, save 20,000 pounds.
Fair enough.
And not go as fast, but also, have a lot more options and comfort features.
All right.
So you gave it a 6 back for the regular M3. You gave that an 8. I gave that an 8. So
okay.
we're giving this one pretty harsh marks.
It's an interesting. I mean, I understand they really are trying to do like the 911 to GT3, but it's the M3 and the 911 are they're different cars. The 911 feels a lot more like sports car-y. The M3 is kind of like, yeah, it's a sports car, but it's also like a car.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, despite our bad rankings, Jeff, this thing kicked ass.
Yeah.
It got a
fast lap, man.
A 113.7 on the power rankings. That's good enough for 3rd overall.
Not bad.
It is currently tied with the Porsche 911 Turbo.
Yeah.
Who did it 1 second slower, but got a considerably higher score from both of us.
Yep.
Just behind the Noble M12 GTO 3-liter, and just ahead of
Noble M12 GTO.
I think the Noble M12 GTO is tied with the Mitsubishi Evo 8, the Lancer Evo 8. Right. Yeah. In between a couple Nobles. It's a good spot to be on our power rankings.
They had one fun comparison in here too. The 3.0 CSL back in 73 was 7,500 pounds, and that was more expensive than the most expensive Aston Martin. And they said, by that logic, this car should be 180,000 pounds, so it's a bargain.
Yeah, well, it's considerably cheaper than that. The most expensive, what threw me on that is the most expensive Aston Martin in 1973 was not 7,000 pounds.
I know.
They have changed their business model considerably.
Well, I guess, inflation and all that. That just seems like nothing.
I mean,
like I feel like I could swing that, like if I had to in like a few days, I could be like, I can come up with that money.
No, 12.1 is the multiplier to current times. That's 84,000 pounds.
Okay,
So
okay.
the most expensive Aston Martin was 84,000 pounds.
Yeah, then I would agree. They have significantly expensified themselves.
Well, I was not expecting it to come in third.
Yeah, it's a good car.
Good
Fast
showing,
lap, yeah.
BMW.
On to the news.
You got anything on the news, Jeff?
I got a couple things. They pull out the Alfa Romeo 8C. They show the picture of that guy, which I kind of forgot about that car, and I was like, that's a 4C. And then I had to look at it. I was like, oh no, it's actually an 8C. They're different. 8C had a bigger engine and was available. Was produced for a little bit before the 4C.
It was the 8C Competizione.
Competizione. That was before Alfa came back to the States. I've seen a 4C in person, man. They are gorgeous cars. I like that one. Jeremy was complaining that he liked the Barrera more, I think was what it was. The squinty, angry eyes versus the big, woo eyes. So, his take. I like the look a little more.
It's interesting because later on, doesn't he really, really enjoy the Giulietta? The Giulia, sorry?
I don't remember. I'm trying to.
No, he likes the Disco Volante.
He likes the Disco Volante, which is the 4C in a different body.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. The Giulia would have been all the way into Grand Tour time. I'm not sure if they've reviewed one. I think they have. I don't remember what he said about it though.
Yeah, it was the Disco Volante.
Disco Volante.
Yeah. So yeah, he's flip flopping on that issue. I don't know if I'd vote for him.
Yeah. And then one more thing. James May had a fun little anecdote about a Ginster's pasty. Which I was like, I know what a pasty is from Harry Potter, but then I was like, no, maybe I don't. So I looked it up, and I just didn't realize. For some reason, pasty in my mind says that's dessert or some sort of a sweet, and apparently they're all just meat pies. They're like Hot Pockets.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just meat pies. The British people love meat pies.
Gas station Hot Pockets, whatever.
I have to say, a good meat pie is delicious, but it's a wide range.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like sushi.
Yeah.
You can get. On the whole, you'd say sushi's good, but there's some bad sushi.
Oh yes,
that you don't want to eat.
Oh,
there's some bad meat pies. I also liken it to haggis.
Okay,
haggis is delicious. There are some haggis that I would not eat. Just
all right.
Hey, you want some haggis? Nope, I do not want that. I love haggis, but I'm not going to eat that. So, yeah, my experience with meat pies are generally on the whole, yeah, you're going to be all right. It's going to be good. You like a flaky, buttery crust and meat? Yeah, it's going to be pretty good.
It's a Hot Pocket. I mean, yeah.
It's way better than a Hot Pocket.
I don't know. I don't like Hot Pockets. They're garbage. But I just can't imagine anything coming from a gas station being edible.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the best. You got to go to the ones where they have the whole window full of stuff that they've fried.
Okay,
those are the good ones.
Okay, fair enough.
You get the meat pie fried, or you can get the Mars bar fried, or you can get the pizza fried.
Oh man!
Also, not the place that I would eat haggis from.
Get the haggis fried.
Yeah, it's a swinging scale here.
Understand.
They also talk about Lancias in the news
briefly, yes.
Which is interesting because later on, they love and gush about Lancias. But in this one, they're really taking the party line of everything that British people remember about the Lancias are that they rust extremely fast.
Yeah, I like that he dumped them just trash full of rust on the
just
table.
A bucket of rust on the table. But I thought that was interesting that they weren't waxing eloquent about it like they do in the future, because I mean, it's like they discovered it 10 seasons from now that they really love Lancias. I'm not sure what changed, but obviously they know about it. And, even earlier on, I remember even recently with a guest, I think it was a Fulvia that he talked about, and he talked about the Fulvia H kind of rally spec edition as being one of the most beautiful cars he's ever seen.
Yeah.
And so he knows about it, but in this one, they're really taking the popular British line of them just being literal rust buckets.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literal bucket of rust. Here, look at it. It's right here.
Yep.
It loses weight. It's just it's simplifying and adding lightness every winter.
Adding lightness every winter. Not even Lotus can do that.
Their cars evolve. So how about that Volvo?
So let's start titling these sections because they're going to start coming hot and heavy, Jeff. I'm calling this, and this is, I'm throwing this at you right now. We're just calling this Caravan Havoc.
Okay.
This is Caravan Havoc. I think part deux.
Okay.
But yes, Jeff is correct. What do you think about that Volvo, Jeff? You commented earlier.
Yeah, dude, I had that Volvo. I've owned that Volvo. Like, I had a 240 silver manual wagon. I cannot imagine towing a trailer with that, but to each their own.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's like an ideal. They call that the ideal caravan tow vehicle.
The caravanist, yeah. I don't know, but okay. What? I guess they're tiny and they're fiberglass, as they fall apart relatively easily, especially when you jump a Volvo into them. Spoiler alert: it doesn't clear 5 caravans.
I guess spoiler alert: they're gonna jump it.
over 5 caravans.
We should probably tell you that first before we tell you it doesn't make it. Yeah, they must have seen the ratings data from the season before or the episodes before where people were loving them dropping caravans from high up or trying to set speed records and stuff. Yeah. So they're like, oh, we got to do more of that. So this is just a standalone segment. They're like, and at the end of the news, Richard just starts talking about how they're going to jump crap.
Yep.
They line up 5 caravans. They give it a mild ramp.
Yeah, I mean, it looked janky. It looked like they took something that was not meant to be a ramp. They're like, just stuff some stuff underneath it and make it a ramp.
It's better than when they tried to jump the London bus over motorcycles.
True.
Yeah, that was a bad ramp. It was poorly designed. This one, at least he got air and cleared a thing.
I think Clarkson said 2.1. I'm going to give him a solid 2.5.
Okay, I mean, I think he probably would have done more. He actually said...
...in the accepted manner, allowing the regulation 12 inches of airspace in between each one.
Yeah, which was bullshit. Because they were all over the place.
They were like 6 feet from the ramp, 3 feet from the next one, smashed up against the third one. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, this is awful. At least do some sort of setup. They're just caravans. Yeah. You can't get anyone to pull those around in the right spot?
Yeah. They show him pulling in, and I was like, oh, they're not going to leave him like that. And then they went down the line. I was like, oh, they just left him like that. Okay.
They just left him exactly like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he might have cleared even like 3 if they had the requisite, what they said distance they had in between them. I think they might have cleared that last one fully, the third. Not the fourth. No. They would still, no more than 3.
No. Yeah, 3 is probably the max, and it came down nice and hard. It scraped the third, did pretty good damage on the fourth, and just demolished the fifth.
It almost rode on the fourth one. I'm like, is this thing gonna fall off the end, or is it not gonna? And then the fifth one came, and it just
just kind of stopped.
Meanwhile, at the Isle of Man,
back to the Isle, I guess. Man, good selection of cars here.
Oh yeah,
M1, E30 M3, E28 M5.
Was it the 30 M3?
Oh, that was the 30. That was the OG one. Yeah, and those cars are worth crazy money these days. I saw one go on Bring a Trailer for I think 120 grand.
What?
Yeah, it was a very low mile one. It was a private collector that had obviously taken very good care of it. But I was like, whoa, that's crazy money.
Yeah, so I guess this was really the boys just faffing about, having fun in the having fun on the Isle of Man. But they brought 3. So this, the one thing that really stuck to me about this one, Jeff, is that they called the M1 a supercar.
It was never a supercar. It was meant to be a racing car, then a homologation special, so they had to make some road cars, and it was, but not a supercar. No, it was definitely an interesting sports car that they took a new approach for.
That's a new JD Power car segment. Interesting sports car that they took a new approach for.
Yeah, exactly.
GM somehow already has 3 JD Power awards in that category.
Yeah. They don't own them at all or anything. But
exactly.
This was the first mid-engine sports car that BMW has made. They made a second one. Can you name it?
They made a second one?
It is in current production.
Is it the I8?
Indeed it is, sir.
That's a mid-engine?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a little engine because that was the hybrid.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a mid-engine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the episode, they said the first and only mid-engine BMW.
Because the i8 did not exist at that point. So
well, very, very much did not exist at that point.
it was about 10 years early for that.
Exactly. This has got what I think became quintessential for the M line, the 3.5 inline 6.
Yep.
It only had 277 horsepower, but I guess back in the day, that was pretty good.
It had mechanical fuel injection too, which is rad.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I love mechanical fuel injection. I would never, ever, ever want to own a car with it or work on it, but that's awesome.
Yeah. My dad had a friend who had like an early Corvette that had air conditioning, like one of like 5 that had air conditioning and mechanically fuel injected.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was a long time ago. I'm sure he sold it before. He probably could hold on to it and sell it for a lot now, but my dad waxes eloquent about the mechanical fuel injection on that car.
It's an engineer's like both dream and nightmare.
Exactly. Trying to make some engineer porn joke about that, but I'm just not gonna go there.
You just leave that be. Interesting car though, yeah, because it was originally kind of going to be built by Lamborghini, and apparently they went bankrupt.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the BMW decided to make it.
Yeah.
And then they realized they didn't have enough time. They didn't have enough time to make it, so they shipped it to Lamborghini, an Italian company who I'm sure is known for being on time.
Oh yeah.
But then the Lamborghini just went belly up.
Yeah.
And it kind of turned into a big faff, as James called it, where it didn't end up being useful for any sort of race series or anything like that. Cause
it wasn't competitive anymore.
Yeah, they wanted to make a race car, and then you had to make a certain number of production cars for it to be allowed or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's the homologation side, yeah.
Yeah, and by the time they got around to actually producing the 200 cars... 400. By the time they got around to producing the 400 cars, it wasn't going to be competitive anyway. So it was kind of this huge failure, they kept saying. But, that being said, the car itself, they all loved.
Yeah,
it is an awesome looking car. It's a great driving car, they said. I wish I'd been able to drive one. I've seen one of these at the BMW Museum in Munich.
Okay.
And it is really pretty.
There's only 453 like that ever were made. I gotta imagine some were crashed, so it's probably well under that now.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, this is the BMW Museum, and so like obviously they're gonna have one, but it was the genesis of the M line. It was the first car to use the M badge.
Yeah, but this was the M. This was genesis of M, as you said. Now, interesting. I mean, so that's the M1. Or excuse me, yeah, the M1. And then later in the late 2010s, I believe, or late 2000s, early 2010s, there's the 1M, which is completely different, but another interesting car that kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it's the 1 Series, yeah.
Yeah, with the fancy engine. And those things are still going up in value, which is crazy, but...
Yeah. I remember when that first Top Gear review came out from Clarkson. You couldn't buy one. They literally were all gone.
Yeah.
By the time that came out.
Yeah, you can put 35,000 miles on it and sell it for like 20 grand more than you paid for it right now.
Yeah, you just have to be able to get one, which is almost impossible.
Yeah. Interestingly, the M1 and the 3.0 CSL, both Hot Wheel versions on my desk at work.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a mark of a good car right there.
It really is. Ain't no E46 M3 on that desk.
Just another stat. This thing did 0 to 60 in 5.8, which is pretty good for the time at which it came out.
Yeah.
Yep. This is the late 70s. That's not bad for an inline 6. You know, It's not a Miura or anything, but it's not bad.
So Brady alluded to the 3.5 liter being kind of the new standard engine for the M line, and that kind of went into the M5, the E28 series M5, which same engine, and yeah, that's ironically enough 0 to 60 in 5.9, so it's a little heavier.
It's a heavier car. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the BMW M5 in every spec, especially that V10 one much later on, is a car that I covet. It's the best of all of the worlds, and I don't know how they do it every single time they come out with an M5. It's big, it's comfortable, it's practical, and it'll bite your head off. It's amazing. It's, a lot of people like the M3, and it kind of is the benchmark for a sporty saloon.
It is literally our benchmark.
It is our benchmark in the power rankings. But the M5, itself could be the benchmark for the sporty. So, like the top 2 on your list, the benchmarks for that sort of thing could be the M5 or the M3. I guess it just depends on how much you want to spend.
Exactly.
Yeah, the M5 is the E28 M5 is a gorgeous car. That era of BMWs, while might appear simple on the outside, I find has a very good styling.
It's timeless.
I like the shark nose front. They've kind of started easing it up by the time you get to the E34, but it still is there. I think it was last episode we talked about 2 episodes ago with the bassist from Spandau Ballet, where he got to crash an M635.
Yeah.
CSI. That's a gorgeous looking car too, and it's got that similar style. It's just a 5 Series with a coupe, or 7 Series with a coupe.
Yeah. Yeah, all the BMW cars of this generation they're very good looking cars. I have a buddy he drives I think it's a 325i. It's a convertible. And it's, they just look so good. They're just simple and clean, and they age well.
And these M versions drive like the devil's driving them. I have only one comment further on the M5, is that apparently the one they were driving did not have a limited slip differential. There was a lot of smoke from one side of the car.
Yeah, that'll happen.
You're going to need to throw a limited slip back there.
Yeah, buddy.
And then they also show the original M3, which is the E30 M3.
And that is, I mean, if we're talking M cars, like, that's the M car. Like, that's the one that is still, like, definitely the car today.
It's interesting that we commented that the 3.5 liter inline 6 is the kind of the benchmark M car engine. This car did not have it, even though it does, or a variation of it later on. Both engines available in this were inline 4s.
Yep, 2.3 and the 2.5, yeah.
Which made it 0 to 60 times 6.7, which is considerably slower for quite a bit smaller car than the M5. It's almost a full second, but still a good fast car for the era in which it came out, which was what, the mid 80s?
Yeah, mid to late 80s. 85 to 92.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of or all of the late 80s.
Yeah. It's got a cult following. I mean, I have not driven one. I hear they are just excellent momentum cars that will just handling is the standard for the day, really. So, most successful saloon car racer ever, according to I believe Mr. Clarkson.
I wish they would have put all 3 of these cars around the track, but
instead
they put them around the Isle of the Man.
I know. I gotta imagine whoever owns that M1 was like, no. The other 2, they're probably like, all right.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially after they crashed that $1 million C-Type from last season.
True. That probably added a little more to their insurance, and they were like, you can't take these. We don't trust Ben yet.
All right, let's talk about Stephen Fry a little bit, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Hang on, let me pull up my... Oh, I lost it.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Hang on, let me pull up my Woolsey 1500 page. Stephen Fry, an eccentric man of eccentric taste. Not much to say about his interview. It was a very Stephen Fry interview.
Yeah.
I had to pause, rewind, turn the volume up. He talks very fast and quite mumbly.
Yep. He's so British.
He's so British.
Oh.
We talked about, we had the star in a reasonably priced car a couple weeks ago was Ellen Davies, and I talked about how I liked him on QI. Stephen Fry hosts QI, and they mention it in this episode as someone he'd like to beat is Ellen Davies. So I guess I still like QI. I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Good on you, QI.
Let's go through a little bit of his car history. We have more on the next guest next episode, but it sounds like he's got an eclectic collection, which was like he had like almost 9 or 10 cars at one point, but they only talk about a few.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple. I wrote down a Saab.
Yep, he currently drives a Saab.
Yeah.
He owned a Wolseley 1500, which looks like they made it from 57 to 65. It is the most Harry Potter British-looking car you've ever seen in your entire life.
Oh my lord, yes it is.
Like, it literally looks like the Anglia from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
He had he had an MG, and he pronounced this odd, an MG Magnet.
Okay.
But he pronounced it odd.
Magne or something?
Oh, it's because it's got two T's. Magnet.
Oh.
It's an MG Magnet. It's like a vignette.
God, that looks so British too. These are the Britishest cars ever.
Well, it doesn't get more British
know.
than his other car, which is a taxi cab.
Which
he has
is
a
kind
London
of
black
genius.
cab. Well, he was talking about it. I thought,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's such a hipster thing to do.
Yeah.
This is just a British hipster. But he talked about it. He said, you know, it is the easiest car in the world to drive around London, which is notoriously one of the hardest cities in the world to drive around because of all the cabs. But if you have a cab, they think you're one of them.
Yes. It's genius.
Just you can drive in the bus lanes.
Yeah.
You can
Act like you belong.
just act like you belong. You just put your hand out the window and they go, all right, mate, just come on in. And you just drive wherever you want. So that's a very interesting point. Probably the best car to own in London, honestly.
Yeah.
I guess maybe besides like a tube pass. What is it?
Or a
Oyster card. I don't know. Too many crashes on bicycles.
Well, if you're Clarkson.
He had an Austin Healey 106.
Yeah, Austin Healey would be a fun. I mean, the mark in general tends to. Oh yeah, that's pretty. It's like
That's a pretty car.
Yeah.
If you guys have a chance, maybe check out the show notes. Jeff will throw in a
throw
picture
one
of
in
an
there.
Austin Healey 106. Not nearly as hilariously British as the Magnet or the Wolseley 1500.
True.
Very good looking car. But yeah, it's an eclectic collection he's got there.
So he is going to gun down Mr. Alan Davis, which was a 154 in the wet, and he got
A 154 in the wet.
boom roasted.
I liked his
What I'm most interested in, though, is how you got on.
Oh, hell.
154 in the wet, just like everybody else.
Yeah, which is a 150 in the dry, which is Clarkson. So that's the standard now. So all right.
Clarkson's becoming more ho hum with his 150 time.
He is. Well, he had a boot full of people too.
Yeah, but like half of them were Richard Hammond.
I guess not a boot, a back seat. There was dead hookers in there.
I suppose half of them were Richard Hammond, but the other half of them were probably, oh God, I forgot his name.
James. Oh, he's so far gone already.
Oh my God, I
Jason
feel so
Daw.
bad.
Jason Daw.
Jason Daw. So it probably averages out to 2 people.
Okay.
This is what I was getting at. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot his name. How
7 people,
embarrassing
1.3
of me.
people. Yeah. R.I.P. Jason Daw.
I'm not dead yet.
All right. So back to the Isle of Man.
Meanwhile, in a small British house on the Isle of Man, this is the first and not last instance of some very good bickering between the old married couple, which is Clarkson, Hammond, and May.
The old weirdly married couple. All right, so we got some sporty convertibles, I guess. I mean, not roadsters, but convertibles, sports cars, kind of entry level but good. Mr. Hammond likes him some BMW Z4. James May in a Porkster
Boxer.
I believe it's a Boxster S, a Porsche Boxster S. And Clarkson in a Honda S2000. This would probably be the AP2, the second generation, which is a slight facelift on the first. And yeah, as Brady said, this is one of the first just bickering old married couple versions of car reviews.
So the whole point is one of these, which one of these is the best? And this is a quintessential Top Gear segment.
Oh, yeah.
But they're driving around in 3 cars and they start bitching about which one's best. And it's great. It's fantastic. They really draw it out but I laughed during it. I thought it was funny. It was a great segment. They also did the old switcheroo where you put other people in other people's cars and they drive it around and they go, oh, this is actually not too bad. But when they get out of the car, they go, oh, it's dreadful and awful.
Oh, it's garbage.
Yeah, exactly. It's garbage. But, Jeff, I think this leads us well into our discussion of the vehicles and which one we liked the best. But to aid us in that, the Stig actually put these round the track to try to settle the argument between the boys.
Indeed, he did.
So I think we will talk about them in our desirability scores on the Top Gear Rearview Power Rankings.
Okay.
So we have the Porsche Boxster S, which came in at 34,000 pounds. It did a 137 dead, and it was in the wet. The BMW Z4, which you believe is a 3-liter.
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah.
It is 33,000 pounds, so 1,000 pounds cheaper. It did a 137.3 in the wet. And then the Honda S2000.
Honda.
It cost 28,000 pounds, so considerably cheaper, and it did a 137.4 in the wet. So very close times, roughly close prices.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to our scores, Jeff, as where these things lie. So, off the top, which one of these did you like the best?
Personally, I'm a S2000 fan.
I think I like the S2000 better than the other ones too.
Yeah.
I don't like Boxsters. I don't like. I think the main argument that James May made about it is it's just not a 911.
Yeah, he said.
Some of you will be saying that's a soft Porsche for people who can't handle a 911. But
Exactly.
Which is, as a man who is kind of currently casually shopping Porsches and has looked at the prices, yup, that's what that is.
Yep. How about a Boxster?
Yeah, Boxsters are cheap.
Yeah. It's because they're terrible.
I kind of want one, just like a track toy, but I don't know. There's also no track here, so.
You also have a race car, Jeff.
Shut up, Brady. I want more.
Yeah, I don't think either of us like the Z4 as well. We've talked about it before. I've driven the Z4. Ton of fun to drive.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's a little too pricey. Doesn't look that great. And though I did not drive the 3-liter. I bet that would probably change my mind a little bit.
I do like
the
that
one
they...
I drove.
2.4 or 2.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that Clarkson is, he in these early seasons just loves hitting on the American, just American crap. And if you remember, the Z4 is made in America, so it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's still a BMW. Call it what you want. It's still a German car at heart.
Mm-hmm. Just like a Rolls Royce. And then the S2000, I think, is a great little car. It's a good price. It looks like a lot of fun to drive like the other ones, but it's not trumped up trying to be something like a BMW or a Porsche. It's not just a 911 little brother or an M5 little brother. It's its own thing, and I think it's a good little car. Now, they all kind of have a knock against them that I think even the guys talk about previously is that a Z4 or a Boxer or something like that has a type of person who drives it, and that is not a man, and they even commented on that Z4 is a woman's car. Now, nothing against that. It's a dumb classification, but I like that because Richard said that he thought the Z4 was manly, and I think it was him many moons ago saying that the Z4 was not manly.
Yeah, I believe so, when he did the initial review.
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, he's changed his tune, I guess. The 3.0,
Again,
maybe the 3.0
look at that.
is manly.
Look at that, flip-flopping. Don't think I vote for him. Looks like my vote goes to Mr. May. But anyway, Jeff, let's get some desirability scores in here to solidify things. We have the Boxster first. That's at the top of my list, so we'll do that one first. So what do you give out of 10 for the Boxster?
Since it's an S, I'll give it a 6.
You're going to give it a 6 since it's an S.
I would, yeah. I mean, given the right price on one of these, I would buy one.
Okay, what would you give the Z4? We'll do all 3 for each of us.
I'll give it a 4.
Okay, what did you give it before? Oh, they didn't put it around the track.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Okay. Well, there we go. Maybe we don't have to shame you for getting something wrong. And then the S2000.
I'm gonna give that guy a 7.
A 7. All right. So you have 7, 6, and 4 in order of what you would like.
There you go.
I agree with you that the Honda is the better of the two. I think I'd give that one a 6, but I'm gonna swap up. I think I'd like the Boxster the least.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm just going to go 654.
All right.
S2000 Z4 Boxer S. So there are our scores. Not unlikely with the actually quite slow times that these cars had, even though it was wet, not very fast. I kind of expected more out of them, honestly. Yeah. But the Porsche Boxer S comes in 24th on our power rankings. The Z4 comes in 26th on our power rankings. And the Honda S2000 barely breaks the 100 mark and comes in 19th. We will post a picture of this when this episode drops, so I don't have to go through and tell you which ones are above and below.
All right.
You can check out the Facebook page for that. But yeah, I guess that's interesting that even though I guess the Z4 got the lowest overall ranking from us, only a 9 combined, whereas the Boxer got a 10 and the S2000 got a 13.
All right.
And that'll do it for us today on Top Gear Rearview. We appreciate you joining us and listening. If you liked it, please think about giving us your subscription. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah, we also appreciate if you got the time, throw up a rating or a review on iTunes. That helps us kind of keep up there in the rankings and helps boost us a little bit. If you got anything to add, any questions, comments, anything like that, Brady is manning the Facebook page on the regular. We're just, I believe, facebook.com/topgearrearview, as well as our email account. You can email us at topgearrearview@gmail.com.
If you want to check out the new Season 3 Top Gear Rearview livery, you can check it out on our YouTube page for sure. You might be also on your podcast app right now.
Maybe.
But if you search Top Gear Rearview on YouTube, you can see it there. The videos are posted at the same time the podcast is posted, if that is your media consumption site of choice.
And I believe that does it for today. So on that note, we will see you guys back here next week for Series 3, Episode 3.